Today I'm going to review the new album by the band Filter called The Algorhythm, which was released on August 25th, 2023. This album has an interesting backstory, which I will get into in a minute. But first, let's talk a little bit about the band Filter, because this band is, I guess you can call them a one-hit wonder band, which is not the kind of title you hear for industrial metal bands, but they had a big hit called Hey Man, Nice Shot back in 1995 from their debut album called Short Bus. And since then, they kind of went underground. They had a few other minor hits. They had a lot of songs on various movie soundtracks. For example, the aforementioned Hey Man, Nice Shot was in the movie Tales from the Crypt of the Demon Knight. They had a song called Jurassic from the Crow City of Angels soundtrack. And they later collaborated with the Crystal Method on a song called Can You Trip Like I Do for the Spawn movie soundtrack in 1998. So this band has been pretty consistent over the years. They put out albums every 3 to 5 years or so. This is the biggest gap between albums. It's been 7 years since their last album, Crazy Eyes, in 2016. And also, if you didn't know, this band was started by Richard Patrick, who actually used to be in Nine Inch Nails. So that's kind of interesting. Now let's talk about The Algorhythm. This was originally conceived in 2018, and it was meant to be a follow-up to the band's first album called The Short Bus. The original title was called Rebus, but then they ended up changing it because their crowdfunding platform collapsed. So here's where things get interesting. Because back in 2018, Richard Patrick was at a concert, and it was a Veruca Salt concert. If you remember, they were a grunge band that they had some hits in the 90s. At the same concert was one of the original members of Filter, whose name is Brian Leesgang. Now, Brian was only on the first album called Short Bus, and then he left the band. Now, it's been over 25 years, and these guys weren't on good terms with each other. But while at the concert, one of the members of Veruca Salt knew that both of them were there, so she stops the concert, and she called out to the two guys, and she said, "You guys need to bury all the bullshit, forget the crap, and get your shit together." And so that's why the guys decided to make amends. They put the differences aside, and they decided to work on an album. Like I just said, there was going to be a sequel to a Short Bus called Rebus. But then, since they lost their crowdfunding, the album was pretty much canceled at that point. Brian Lee's gang decided he didn't want to be in the band anymore, but they still kept some of the songs he worked on. At this point in the story, it's about 2020. They were going to announce it, but of course we all know that everything slowed down in 2020, so they ended up changing the name a couple of times. They started releasing singles in 2022. Finally, they decided to call the album The Algorhythm, and that's the album we have right now. Let's talk about some of the songs. The Drowning opens up the album, and this one has that classic sound. It has an electronic rhythm with some heavy guitars that come into the song at the right time. The chorus is melodic. The song is metaphorical. It describes a person who is drowning, but the person drowning doesn't want to be helped and just laughs at us, watching at us while we're on the shore. And I thought it was a good opener. It was a catchy song. Up Against the Wall starts with this guitar riff that reminded me of a Rammstein song. It was one of the slower and heavier songs. On this track, we can hear some different vocal styles in a higher range. The lyrics of the song are about a person who is a liar and how it feels from the perspective of another person. For the Beaten, it's one of those songs where the first few seconds are completely crazy and then it gets softer. They balance the heavy and the light very well here. The song is about protests and the state of the world in general. The song is both heavy and catchy at the same time. This was also one of the singles. Obliteration is another one of the singles, and this is a very catchy song. It has one of those choruses that will be stuck in your head after a few listens. This was probably my favorite song from the album. Say It Again is one of the heavier songs. This sounds like some of the industrial metal bands of the 90s. But this song is also kind of catchy. It has a memorable chorus. The lyrics appear to describe a relationship that was once very intense but has gone mundane. There seems to be a lot going on with this song. It has a few parts in it that were very intense. Face Down is an industrial rock song. It's not a very heavy song. It has an electronic backdrop. What was interesting about the song is that they mentioned the Beatles in the lyrics, and they quote one of the songs where they say, "Only love can see us through," like the Beatles say. I couldn't find the exact Beatles song where they say that. I Googled it, and if anyone knows the exact Beatles song where they say that, I don't even think there is one. He probably just said something or paraphrased that all you need is love or something like that. But I actually Googled the meaning of this song, and what I found, so I'll read a quote from Richard Patrick. He says, "Face Down speaks to the hate and negativity plaguing the world today." Patrick said in a statement, "I wrote it after being inundated with lies, deceptions, and pure vitriol I saw on social media. I'm pumped. I can't wait for everyone to hear the full album." Have you ever seen the abyss? Summer Child is a little different. It was like a cross between Green Day and Helmet. I guess that's how I could describe it. It was more of a catchy industrial punk song. I guess that's what I can call it. Threshing Floor was another song that reminded me of a Rammstein guitar riff. I don't know the exact song. I couldn't pick it out. It just sounded very Rammstein to me. The song is pretty good. It has a very dark and angry type of vibe. And if you want to know what a threshing floor is, here's what I found online. The threshing floor is a scripture, or in scripture, it's a place of separation and revelation, a place where the harvest was prepared by separating the grain from the useless straw to expose and collect the most valuable part of the crop. So the lyrics also refer to the devil coming, so the song does have a deeper meaning if you look into it. Be Careful What You Wish For is a song with a 90s industrial metal type of sound, similar to his old band 9 Inch Nails. The sound was straightforward. It was very electronic. It sounded something that could have appeared on one of those like Matrix movie soundtracks or like that type of music. Burn Out the Sun is a laid-back ballad. It has some guitars. It has that industrial sound. There's a lot more singing involved. I don't have much more to say about it. It's an okay song. I think it was pretty cool to have some softer music towards the end of the album. The final song is called Command Z. This is the catchiest song on the album. The title refers to Command Z, or I guess you can call it Control Z, the shortcut to undo something when you're working on a computer, like working on a Word document or something like that. And it has the catchiest chorus. He's like, "I'm high as a motherfucker, high as a motherfucker." And it's like that, and it's the kind of song you're going to be singing the chorus over and over. Just make sure you don't sing it out loud, especially if you're at work, because you might get fired. But I think this is one of the most memorable songs on the album. So in conclusion, that's all. I'm not going to say much more about it. I think it's a decent album. I think if you like industrial music like 9 Inch Nails and you like their other albums, I think you can get into it. I enjoyed the fact that a lot of the songs were pretty good. They were catchy. That was one thing that this album has going for it. Other than that, it's just decent. It's worth a listen. My score is a 7.5 out of 10. Please remember to like this video. It helps me with the algorithm. Thanks for watching. Here's another video about industrial music. So if you want to check that out, and I will see you in the next one.